Hey everyone, we are back with another agent interview to dig into some real telesales businesses from agents that are in the trenches, uh, you know, going through what you're all going through, right? So we know that everyone has a different journey. We have different skill sets that we've developed along the way, and different things work for different agents. And today we're going to bring on an agent that's been with us for a while. I believe 4 or 5 years at least. And he's writing over $200,000 every single year for the past 4 years with us. So, let's bring him on. Today we have Philip Chen. Philip, welcome.
Hey, how's it going?
All right. So, for everybody that doesn't know you, tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, and kind of what you're doing before Digital BGA.
Sure, yeah. I'm from New York, born and raised here. Lived there all my life. What I was doing before Digital BGA, I was still in the insurance industry. I started when I graduated college. So that was back in 2008 when we had the financial crisis. There wasn't a lot of employment. Insurance was the first thing that came to mind. I wasn't really sure what I was doing at that time. I mean, no one is, you had an opportunity, you took it, and 16 years later, I'm still doing insurance, but more so in the final expense market now than the traditional whole life and term insurance.
Cool. And we'll get done in a second because you're still doing traditional term and all that stuff as well.
Correct.
Just primarily final expense right now.
Right.
So were you selling over the phone before you got to us?
No, it was actually all face to face.
Okay.
It was we sat down with clients, we had meetings in the office. So face to face was really new to me, right up to about 2018. I'm sorry, telesales was new to me up to about 2018.
Awesome. So we chatted right before this, and you just reminded me that you found Digital BGA through what we had back then. We had a free lead program that we called our VSA program, our virtual sales agent program, which we don't have now. That was like 5 years ago, I think 2018 or so, 2017, 2018. That was the first time that you started selling life insurance over the phone, was that program?
Yeah, so I actually found out about Digital BGA through Insurance World. And I was doing research because I like to keep up with, the business. So I was reading up, and then they were talking about this free program. I was like, hey, I'll give it a shot. And a lot of people recommended Digital BGA. I mean, when you're coming from an outsider and there's a lot of brokerages out there that has big promises, but small delivery. I was a little weary at first, but then, I met you, and then we had a brief conversation. I forgot who was the brokerage manager at that time. I don't know if it was Brian, but yeah, the rest was history. I joined, and then that's how I got, introduced to Digital BGA.
Yeah. So after the VSA program, you decided, I think you got, your experience under your belt. You go through the process, what I recommend agents going through, right? You get some experience on free leads, especially if you don't have the money to invest in leads, right? You kind of swallow your pride, check your ego at the door and take a lower comp and free leads to get the experience to see if you can do it. You did it. And then you moved independent. So from there, you said, you know what, guys, I got this. I'm going independent now. And that was in about 2018, 2019. So I put together some data real quick, Philip, and I just want to discuss a bunch of this data so that we can first learn about your business. I want everybody here to understand kind of what I understand about you and what you've accomplished over the past few years. Okay. And then we can have a really good conversation around it. So I'm just going to go over some production numbers, some data that I collected prior to this call. Okay.
Sure.
So awesome. So in 2020, you wrote 149 policies for $126,000, working all outbound leads. By outbound, I mean like internet leads, web leads, things like that. In 2021, you wrote 236 policies for $260,000 of annual premium. And this was the year we introduced TV calls, right? And you worked a combination of TV calls and our internet leads that we were providing at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And then in 2022, You wrote 257 policies for $293,000 of annual premium. And you did mostly TV calls, but you also kind of focused on one outbound lead that we have that you identified, that you asked us, like, hey, can I get more of these? And we're going to talk about in a second. They're guaranteed issue leads. Mm-hmm. And we'll have a whole discussion around that. But I'm just kind of going through the timeline right now. And then in 2023, last year, you wrote 194 policies for $211,000. So a small drop in production, but from what I recall, you also welcomed a new child into your family, right?
Correct. Yes. So I had two childs already. I had a child in 2020. I'm getting all mixed up right now. 2021 and then 2023. So
awesome, man. You were the weeds right now.
Yeah. We're in the trenches right now, in a way.
Yeah, awesome. Well, congratulations on that. But I have to ask now, what does your schedule look like? You're producing full time. You're putting up, consistent around $20,000 months or so, and you've got two little ones.
Yeah.
You work from home. Talk to me about your work schedule.
So I work 5 days a week. Before the kids came, I was working 6 days. I would do every other Saturdays. I'll work for a few hours. Now it's really, really tough. So I'm doing, my schedule now is I wake up around 30 in the morning. My parents take the kids, fortunately enough, so they babysit them.
Awesome.
They take them at 8, and at 8 a.m., I actually go to the gym. I try to do an hour session. If everything goes perfectly and the kids aren't sick and the day goes smoothly, I get to go to the gym at 8 in the morning, and I'm done around 9:15. And that's when I start my day, around 9:15, 9:30. I jump on all the meetings that digital has. So whether it's coffee with the coaches, training, script training, I always try to, regardless if I'm busy or not, I try to make that a priority. And then I really kind of start my day dialing at about 10 o'clock. I do it for about 3 hours. And then at 1 o'clock, I take my lunch break. Take an hour and a half lunch break. And then I'm back again at 2:30, 3. And then I dial again from 3 to 6. And then that's when the kids are home, my wife's home, and then we have dinner. And then about 8:30, 9 o'clock, I actually jump back on the computer and I do all the miscellaneous. I do the emails. I double check things I've missed. There's underwriting for my term policies that I do at that time. I kind of do everything late at night when the kids are sleeping. So that's when I kind of do all the miscellaneous tasks.
Awesome. All right, that's how you balance it.
Yeah, it's usually I try to do everything either late at night or I'll try to squeeze something in on the weekend. But if throughout the day, I would say I'm working about 6 hours a day.
And I want everybody to understand just how structured Philip is, right? He knew exactly his schedule from what time he goes to the gym, what time he's in, how many hours he's calling, when he takes his lunch, things like that. That's how structured you have to be. And Philip is one of the most consistent dialers, right? And you can tell why. He has structured times. I didn't know this, that you had, the 3 hours in the morning and the 3 hours in the afternoon.
Right.
And you don't do any admin stuff because that's dialing time. You do that in the evenings. So, and that's, in my opinion, that's key for any telesales agent, is to have those structured hours and live by those hours.
Yeah. I think I was much more flexible before I had kids, where I could be dialing all times of the day. I could be dialing at 8 o'clock at night, to my California leads. But now, I'm working certain time zones because of, kids are home and sometimes they're off school or my parents aren't available. So you kind of really have to be on a structured calendar on a regular basis. But yeah, those are my usual working hours, assuming everything goes smoothly.
Cool. All right, so let's talk about your results. So we talked about how much premium that you've written over the years. I'll just dig into last year, okay? So I did some calculations here. I went in to see how much you spent with leads with us, looked at your production. So last year, when I say last year, I mean all of 2023. So I'm not counting this year at all. So all of 2023, you spent $42,000 and some change in leads. Mm-hmm. And, you wrote 211,000. So that's about, that's about 17,600 per month in production and about $3,500 per month that you spend on leads. Okay. So 3,500 spent to get you on average 17,600 in production, in sales, I should say. So I also calculated your last 100 policies submitted, and you have an 82% placement rate. Okay. So if that 17,600 you sold, actually, what actually places from that is around 14,500 ish. Okay. So every month you spent on average, I mean, I'm sure some months were lower, some months were higher, $3,500 on average to place and force $14,454, right? So it looks to me that you're netting over 6 figures annually. Would you say that's right?
Yep, exactly. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And that's all telesales, selling from this office that you're in right now.
Mm-hmm. Correct. Yeah. I mean, it was better the previous years, but now with the time constraint, just now I was working as hard as I used to be. But yeah, those are accurate numbers. Yeah.
Yeah. But I also see, I mean, you're spending less and less on leads every month, but your production is staying the same. Yeah. So your production may be going down, but it seems to me you're keeping that 6-figure income with everything you have going on. I mean, you've got, close to, I'm just ballparking here, looking at data, close to probably 900, approaching 1,000 policies on the books over the years. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, you have rewrites, you have renewals coming in, you have, all those sort of referral opportunities, people calling back, things like that are probably kind of starting to snowball a little bit.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm seeing a lot in the last 2 years. And I think that's also why you're seeing that I'm more profitable. It's because I'm getting the rewrites, I'm getting the referrals, I'm getting if the lead had lapsed, I try to call back a year later and reach back out to them. Once in a while, they'll buy again. So I'm getting a lot of sales that doesn't require any cost to it. And I think that's why you're just seeing those numbers. It's not like you're just starting fresh with a new book and you're selling everything from day one. You have a lot of existing clients that, maybe they might purchase another policy. Maybe they want to have a policy for their kids. So we're getting a lot of rewrites here.
Are you doing anything to nurture that, to work your book?
Unfortunately, I'm not. I really wish I had set up a system earlier. What I do is, luckily it's like Ben Mueller had that sheet that he puts together where he types in all his policies. What I'm doing is I'm just going through all the lapses from the previous years. I'm reaching back out to those clients, and I'm having some luck with that.
Awesome. And I want people to understand that are watching this, because a lot of people that watch these videos are considering telesales or final expense telesales, and they're worried about the lapses, right? They hear about, these clients are on a fixed income. They worry about the lapses, and you're talking about you work those lapses. That is an asset from your previous sales that you're working because you write business off of that. Right?
Yeah. It's more than an asset. I think it's a gold mine. When you could double dip into a policy, and what I mean by double dipping, it's we can actually collect another commission rewriting that policy, assuming we can find them a better company or, a better situation. It's a really easy money. It's you just reach back out to client and ask them again, hey, if, do you want to maybe consider getting coverage again? And you just never know. You never know if you don't ask. So revisiting those lapse policies is really a good way of generating income without, spending money.
Absolutely. Yeah. I just, a lot of the industry puts a negative connotation on final expense telesales because of, the lapses, the persistency, but in the end, it all works out if you're on top of all of your clients, because you can get them back on the books. Yeah. And if they buy once and something happens, they see the need in it and they'll eventually buy again. And it's not as bad as it seems. It's actually, like you said, it could be a gold mine to your business if you treat it as such. And as you've gone through the years, you're working on year 5 right now, I believe, with us. I know you were in the business before us, but year 5 with us, that all that stuff started to snowball. You said you don't even proactively reach out to your clients besides those lapses, right?
Yeah.
You're probably getting phone calls and emails and people reaching back out just reactively, like, hey, I got to get this back, or I have to do X, Y, Z. Would you say that's accurate, that you have people reaching out to you?
Yeah, no, I don't have any type of program where I'm like actually like really going through all the numbers and saying, oh, I got to call this person. A lot of the rewrites are people reaching back out to me or sending me an email. I wish I was better at that. I was watching Nate's video on how he's really diligent about doing it. I could definitely be better at it. But yeah, I'm not worried about the lapses. Lapses is part of the industry, not even about final expense. I mean, it's more prevalent in final expense because of the market that we're working with. But it doesn't faze me, I guess, in a way, because I sometimes expect that every 10 sale I'm making, I know that 1 or 2 is going to lapse. It's just the law of numbers at the end of the day.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So what do you think, over the years, you've been doing this with us for 4 years now, over the phone. What do you think your biggest strength is, like your biggest skill set that you've developed doing this? Because when I look at your business, I see, okay, he's got great placement, right? It probably didn't start that way, I see the consistency in the dials that you make every single day, like for the last years. And you're not just born with that, right? You have to develop that. And yeah, what do you think your biggest strength is in the business right now?
I want to say I'm just a hard worker, I guess. Again, this is not to say that I'm like I'm not the best salesperson. I'm not worried about saying that. Like, I'm not really salesy on the phone, but I am very consistent when it comes to what I can control throughout my day. And that's making the dials, following up on my clients, checking in on my lapses. I do that diligently. I know from this is a job, right? I know from 9:30 to about 1 o'clock, I'm going to be on the phones or I'm going to be trying to speak with one of my clients. And then from 2:30 to 3 o'clock to 6, I'm going to be dialing again. If I could just follow that structure, I know that it will equate for me making money each day. And I think that's really my main strength in my business, is that I'm focused enough to make the dials. I don't take a half day, or I don't, go out and do it, an errand. I try to really avoid that because I know it can really change my day, because it's something can happen. I'm running an errand and maybe I want to do something else. I try to avoid all of that. And I try to get away from the distraction.
I mean, to me, it sounds like you're just self-aware of what you're good at and what you're not good at. You're not, you don't have the highest closing percentage, but that doesn't matter because you got the consistency down. You got that. Yeah. So, and that's important for agents to understand, right? What are your weaknesses? What are your strengths? And a huge strength is if you can get consistency, and anybody can be consistent, right?
Yeah.
So with you, consistency for the past 4 years has led to what you're doing right now. And, being able to have that flexibility, work from home, sell over the phone. I think you said you were out in the field before. Now that you have 2 kids, I'm sure it's a lot easier to live life on your family's terms, being at home. So that's what this business is all about.
Yeah. And I think sometimes when I wake up in the morning, I have a lot of gratitude that I'm able to work from home. And I think people miss that part about telesales, is that, yes, it's tough to be calling people from home or just doing it over the phone. It is tough. It's a tough job, meaning mentally. But I don't need to be working in the field, or if the weather's terrible outside, or it's like 100 degrees, or it's snowing, it's a blizzard. I'm in the comfort of my home, and I really can't complain. When my kids are home at 6, I get to see them right away. I don't got to deal with traffic. I'm in New York, which unfortunately is a terrible city to be driving anywhere. But I think I'm just, grateful that I can do this in the comfort of my own home.
And that's important to understand too. You are in New York. Okay, let's talk about that. New York is a low comp state, right? They have laws where you can only get a maximum amount of commission. And you know, most agents don't write business in New York because it doesn't work out financially for them. They need better comp. And there's also less carriers because of that, because of all the red tape you have to go, the regulations and all that carriers need to go through to offer products there. So talk to me about that. I noticed that you do write a bunch of business in New York.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I don't have a choice. You know, if there's a lead that comes in, I'm gonna write it. Yes, the comps are much lower. The products are at minimal right now. I want to say we maybe only have one product, maybe two.
Yep.
And there's not a lot of option here. So, I mean, I don't blame people for not wanting to write it.
For final expense, that is. Yeah.
For final expense. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, for final expense, that is. So I don't blame people for not wanting to write New York because one, you don't really get paid much, and two, you don't have a lot of options for your clients. But I write it because I'm in New York already, so I have the license here. And I'm familiar with the products and what's available. I'm very honest with folks that I'm talking to. I tell them there's not a lot of products we offer here, unfortunately, because of the state that we're in. So yeah, I mean, I write it. I don't love it, but I don't really have a choice.
Yeah. Well, a couple things there. The first thing is I looked at your leads that you took from 2023 and just looked at the New York leads that you took. So, I mean, there was only, and these are like accidental leads, right? They're leads that we're not going after, but somebody, filled out a form, they might've been in Texas, but they actually live in New York. And so they put New York as a state. And they went to you. And so there was less than 75 leads last year in New York that went to you, but you wrote over 17% of those leads outbound.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't even realize
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. So when you think about it that way, though, right, it's probably double the conversion rate of another outbound lead. And so if you think about it that way, if you can write more people, if agents kind of just change their mindset, like, hey, maybe I will pick up my New York license and help these people who still need help. Yes, it's less comp, but hey, it closes a lot higher too. So the ROI might be a little bit better as well. So that's one thing to consider. But also, you're playing a little bit of arbitrage here, living in New York, where low comps, but writing in other states where you get full compensation that the rest of the industry gets. So that probably helps, because if you said you were face to face and writing business in New York, you're probably getting that less than 100% comp on everything. Much less than 100% comp on everything. And, but now you're able to get a lot more, right? A lot more comp just by selling in other states.
No, it's beautiful. I mean, when you've been selling in New York all your life, and then you got exposed that you could do other states doing telesales, it's kind of mind-boggling, because you're like, I can make this much more by just, selling in a different state. It's really awesome. But you're right. I guess maybe not a lot of agents are doing New York. So that's why maybe, I don't know, that transitions to easier sales, because no one is really trying to reach out to those final expense leads. I don't know. I mean, I'm not complaining. I don't
Yeah. No, it was just interesting data that I took from
I don't really realize it, because I'm just writing leads that regardless what state they're in. But it's unfortunately that is what we deal with here in New York.
Yeah. Okay, so I guess New York could be considered a niche. Not a lot of agents work New York, right? That's a niche. But you're also taking leads from one of our websites that we own. It's a guaranteed issue life website. It ranks in the search engines. And you've been taking those for a few years now, where most agents, they wouldn't want a guaranteed issue lead. Why would I want to talk to somebody who, who's guaranteed issue? It's less comp. They're sick. Yeah. You have the death claim liability. So talk to me about that. What about those guaranteed issue leads is it that you like and that you seem to be very successful with?
So the funny thing about digital BJs, if there's a lead that's for sale, I'm going to be the first guy that buys it. any lead that digital sells, I'm always on board with buying it and testing it out, because this is my theory. I have nothing to lose by trying it. Even if it doesn't work out, even if I don't like the lead, I could always stop it at some point. So when you guys offer the guaranteed issue leads, I was like, all right, I'll give it a shot. And what I like about it is that it limits the product for the consumer. Meaning that, again, when we're selling level final expense products, there's so many different companies that we can go with. But when it comes to guaranteed issue, you can really narrow it down for the client. And there's only really 3, maybe 4 options for them when they're dealing with a certain health condition. So I think my success with guaranteed issue leads is I'm able to communicate to the client that we're very limited on option due to your health issue. And the need is there now. Like, there's no waiting. We got to get that in place, and we got to meet that 2-year period as soon as possible. And once they understand that, and the budget isn't an issue, usually it's an easy close.
Yeah. I mean, I also noticed on a lot of those guaranteed issue leads that you write a decent amount of level business off of them too. Yeah. So a lot of people just think they can only qualify for GI.
Yeah, that's the shocking part, is that I almost always try to go with level coverage if it's possible. And I explain to them, just give me a moment and give me a chance to explain what's available to you. Because they think diabetes is like the worst thing in the world. But in reality, it's really not a huge concern in the final expense world.
Yeah. Awesome. And just people watching this, we don't have these for sale. Like we get a limited amount of these. It's not something we market for, we pay for. It's just we rank in the search engines with a website that gets these leads. So it's not a lead program, but it is interesting how you have a couple niches within your business. You still work our general leads, right? But you have a small niche of guaranteed issue. You have a small niche in New York because that's where you live. And, you have, most agents don't have that state. They don't pick it up. And so you get a lot of those, you get a bunch of leads there, and it ends up working out for you. So, along the way, I like to talk about how agents gain like specific knowledge in their business, like things that you can only learn through doing the work. And I feel like those are the couple things that you've learned about through doing the work. You've got these 2 small niches in your business, might pick up another one, right? You know that for you, what works is consistency and sticking to a schedule. And that's proven out for you. So I guess my question for you is what's next for you, Philip? What are you working towards in the business these days?
So I am trying to generate my own leads. I do run a few websites, thanks to you, Jeff. You exposed me to that early on. I actually do get some leads from these websites. It's not a lot. Don't get me wrong. It's not like I could be independent on just that, independent on it. But, I would like to get to the point where, I wouldn't have to buy leads anymore. And it just kind of comes in. Unfortunately, being in the industry for so long, it's very hard to do both. There's not too many leads that can market and sell at the same time. It's very rare. But that's something I kind of want to strive to, where I'm able to be self-dependent on myself to be able to generate my own leads. And that's something that, I've been meaning to ask, Digital BJ, if there's, I know that you did it a few times about marketing yourself and, building a website and try to generate your own leads. That's something I'm trying to pursue more this year.
Well, we'll have something within the next few months on that end. We hear agents that want to do that as well. And we're working on something to get agents to do that within our technology. So you don't have to go buy a website, and you can have leads post to your CRM. That seems to be the big issue, is agents have trouble when they self-generate leads. Okay, now how do I get these leads into my CRM now? Like automatically, instead of manually entering them there, or, agents working from a spreadsheet, things like that. So we're working through something right now to do that. But I can already tell you're on your way, because you are spending less every year, probably every quarter. You're spending less on leads because you have that database of clients, past clients that reach out. You have all those follow-ups that, people you've spoken to over the years. You have, you're just more effective. And I think that you know, the trajectory that you're on with spending, I could see it the past couple of years, you're spending less and less, that you're working your way towards it, right? To self-generating those leads. And it is tough, right? You can't be a great marketer, get the best quality, lowest priced lead, generate that for yourself, and be effective over the phone, and service your book of business, and do everything that's, that's required of you to stay consistent and all that. So I get what you're trying to do there. And I love that you're playing it as a long game. You're not like, this has to happen now. I'm trying to do this right now. You're making the income you got to make, and you're progressing to where you need to go. And that's what it takes. A lot of people just have this, I want everything now. And if they don't, they're frustrated, they get distracted because they're focused on just self-generating their leads. When I'm all for it. Like, if agents can do that, I'm all for it. Like, I'm not against self-generating leads at all. Yeah. I just think that, I think that there needs to be guardrails for agents to do that, so they don't lose sight of their business. And a lot of agents don't play within those guardrails, and they lose sight of their business, and they focus on things that don't matter. So
yeah, no, you're very accurate about that. I didn't want to take time away from my regular business of selling to work on this website to generate leads. I don't mind maybe spending a little bit of time each month, writing an article or doing something small to it. But with generating your leads, especially if you're not doing a lot to it, it just takes time. It just takes time to get the organic search to come up. So yeah, I think early on, I think you mentioned that, and I took that to heart. I was like, I don't want to be putting too much into generating my own leads. So I just slowly do it once a month, maybe twice a month, and try to better the website, or try to generate, try to learn more about it, because I went to the mastermind many years ago, and I realized I know so little about the industry when it comes to generating leads. I know a lot about product and servicing, but I'm just like the tip of the iceberg when it comes to SEO and all that. And I'm like, what, maybe I shouldn't have dived my foot into this, because then it's going to just take up too much time.
Yeah. Well, the fact that you have a website, I think I overlooked this aspect in our conversation, that you have an email address, and that is your email address. That is your brand. And that is how people get back in touch with you. Because you have a custom URL, custom website, and that's your email. And so when you send emails to people, or, same thing with the phone number, you should always have the same phone, or always have the same website. And the agents that have gmail.com, hotmail.com, AOL.com, whatever it is, like, that's not professional, number one, but they won't remember you. And I think, when you have a brand for your agency to use that email address, I think that's really important. And that's why you're getting people contacting you back as well. You're not doing a lot of the outreach besides your lapses, you said. But when you have that brand and you're using that, they see your communication from that. I think that really helps, because you have probably 800-900, approaching 1,000 clients that probably have seen that brand, and a number of them are just going to reach out because they remember working with you. And that's important for agents to understand. As an independent agent, you have to build out that brand, get off of a Gmail email address, and start using your own marketing. Because right now, you say you're marketing, you're adding some content here and there, you're learning to self-generate some leads, but a byproduct of that is you're building a brand. And that's important for the long game when you're in final expense telesales as an independent agent. So I'm glad you're doing all that, because a lot of people don't realize the work that they're putting in. Yeah, it may not be getting a lot of leads right now, but hey, you're still branding yourself out there, and that has value.
Yeah. And you asked a really good question. What's the long game? And I think when people are doing telesales, final expense telesales, I think my first year, I wasn't really thinking about long game. I'm just thinking about survival, right? I just want to be profitable and be able to,
totally
irate. But when you're doing it long enough, you're thinking, how can I be efficient and still maintain profitability at a more efficient rate? So, and I still think about it time to time, like, how can I be better, or how can I, what am I trying to reach in the next 5 to 10 years? want to continue doing this and some generate my own leads, or because I think no one wants to be buying leads. No one wants to be dependent on that. But yeah, I mean that if agents are really considering if they want to stay in this in the long game, I think there should be different avenues for them for leads to come in, whether it's their existing book of business or maybe even they could self-generate some. But like you said earlier, right now I have two little niches that may be working for me, but there can never be too many niches. There can never be too many avenues that comes in terms of leads that you can sell to.
Absolutely. Yeah. And, when people start in the business, I like that you said it's, first year, it's about survival, right? And then it's about how you can become more effective. And I would even say the first year to two, depending on how many leads you take, it's about survival. Because most agents, they may be in the business their first year, but they may have only been really working part-time hours, right? So really their first year is extended to 2 years, maybe 3 years, because they never gave it their full effort. They're going to still experience that struggle in the first year. So, maybe the first year or two, it's about survival, right? And then it becomes about how can you be more effective in your business. And that's, like you said, you don't want to be buying leads your entire life. And I'm sure you started when I started the business, I started at Northwestern Mutual, right? We had this Project 100, friends and family, right? Qualify them, get in front of them, all that. And I have this sort of thing in my head where it's not Project 100 for agents in telesales, right? Think about it as Project 1000. Get to your first 1,000 clients. If you have 1,000 clients on the books, not that clients that have lapsed like previous clients, but get to 1,000 clients on the books, you'll probably never have to buy a lead again. Mm-hmm. Number one, you'll have some of those renewals coming in. You'll be able to cross-sell a bunch of them. Of those, a lot of them are going to lapse. You're going to rewrite them. And, it's almost a race to get to 1,000 active clients on the books. Yeah. And at that point, you won't have to buy leads. You'll just be servicing your book of business, and it'll be almost like talking to people every year, right? You have 1,000 people to call every single year and check in on, and spin business off of that. So, there's a lot of different ways, because you talk about not buying leads. It doesn't have to be generating your own leads if you build in systems to work your book of business, because you are putting in a little bit of volume, Philip. So, and agents that do that in telesales, they have this opportunity to get more volume than a face-to-face agent would.
Right.
So
you're right about that. It's having a book of business it's a snowball effect. It makes your life so much easier to just be having. I mean, at the end of the day, it's just being on the phone. The more conversation you have, which translates to more sales, that's all it is at the end of the day. But of course, you want to still have new people, because there's this theory about, you always want to have new books of business where there's a part where they say that, you could service your existing book of business, but you still want to be writing some new business out of it, just to not be stagnant on where you are. But we'll get to that.
Yeah, absolutely. So awesome, Phil. Well, hey, we're coming up on our time here. So I just want to thank you for your partnership over the years, and thanks for coming on and sharing your journey with everybody. I've found a lot of value in it. I think a lot of people are going to find a lot of value in some of the things that you shared with us.
Yeah, my pleasure. I have one thing I just want to show really quick. I just want to see if
Okay. Uh-oh.
Let's see if I still have it. Hope I didn't lose it. Oh, here it is. So
look,
had bought this first year when I joined digital back in 2019, actually, and I still read it from time to time, and there's still a lot of good information on it. It's on Amazon, I think, still, right?
It is still on Amazon, and I'm in the process of getting a refreshed version of that. So.
Okay.
Yeah, so hopefully by the end of the year, I'll launch another book here with a lot of really good updates from all the things we've learned over the past 8 years.
Okay. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate you sharing that. Awesome. No, that's awesome. That's really cool to see that in the wild. It's fun. It's something that, I mean, when I wrote that book, not to just go on a tangent here, but when I wrote that book, a lot of people didn't believe that telesales can be done. And they kept asking me, how are you doing this? How are you doing this? And so I'm like, you know what? Instead of spending so much time every day on the phone with people, telling them how to do it, I'm just going to write the book. Here's how you do it. Here's the script. Here's how you sell. Here's how you market. Here's where this business is going. Here's the KPIs. Here's what you need to look, here's what you need to figure out.
Yeah.
And that's the business. So anyway, I really appreciate you sharing that. That's kind of a blast from the past here.
Yeah.
So,
No problem.
So awesome, Philip. Well, hey, keep it up, man. We appreciate you having in the agency. You had a lot of value to us. With a lot of your wisdom you share in our community and our trainings and all that. And just thank you for being a partner of Digital BGA. Really appreciate it.
I'm happy to.
Awesome.
Take care, Jeff.